Hi everybody, Mr. Owens here. Today I'm going to be going over proportions with you. So we've been talking about proportionality and now we're going to be talking about proportions. So a proportion, very simple, is two fractions that are equal to one another. And in Edgenuity, they give you really confusing fractions and they make them equal to each other, but I'm going to show you with easier fractions so it makes sense to you, okay? So I'm going to start with just 1/2 is equal to 2/4, right? We're talking about equivalent fractions. So I'm going to show you two ways to look at this, right? One way to look at this is say, okay, how do I know that they're equivalent? Well, they should be multiplying by the same thing for both of them. So you say 1 times something is 2, that something is 2. So if you're multiplying by 2 on top, you should be multiplying by 2 on the bottom if they are proportional. So then 2 times 2 is 4, that works out. Another way of looking at it is saying, okay, to go from top to bottom, 1 to 2, you're multiplying times 2. And then going from top to bottom, you're also multiplying times 2. So that works out nicely. Let me give you one more, okay? Let me give you one more. So let's say we had the example of 2/8 equals 10/40, okay? So a little different. So we're looking at this and we can say, okay, I know to get from 2 to 10, we're multiplying by 5. From 8 to 40, multiplying by 5. Nice and easy. Or you could look at the other way, saying, okay, from 2 to 8, you're multiplying by 4. Cool. From 10 to 40, multiplying by 4. So yes, this is a proportion. They are equal to each other. Okay, so if you can figure it out just by looking at it, it's really important that you don't do more work than you have to, right? If you can figure it out just by looking at it, that's great. But Edgenuity gives you some that are too difficult to figure out without doing some extra work, okay? And so they're going to teach you this thing called cross multiply divide, right? They're talking about cross multiplying. And this is a way of doing proportions that is very old school. This is how I learned it in school. This is probably your parents learned it in school. So if you talk to an old person, they'll probably tell you this is how you do it. But I don't teach it this way, and most math teachers don't teach it this way anymore because it is kind of an old way of doing it. I think there's a better way, but you don't know how to do you don't know all the skills that you actually need to be able to understand it. So this is solving algebraic equations. You are doing algebra. And before you freak out, I'm going to give you steps to do. Okay, the cross multiply divide are steps. If you are interested in learning why we do this the way that we do, you are free to email me. I welcome your emails. You can email me at kowens@jeffersonesd.org. Even if you're not in my class, you can email me if you're interested, okay? Because I'm going to teach you some steps for how to solve these, but I'm not really going to explain why that much because honestly, you don't know it yet. And I'm surprised and a little frustrated that Edgenuity assumes that you know it. Okay, so let's take this example. We have 5/3 equals x/6, okay? Now there's one easy way to do this, right? You might notice the easy way, right? How do we get from 3 to 6? Oh, we're multiplying by 2. Multiplying by 2. Easy, okay? So that's one way to do it. So you can think, okay, I already know the answer. Going from, well, actually, we're going to go the other way, right? From bottom to top to figure out what x is. I don't know how to get from 3 to 5. I don't know what I'm multiplying by. Well, actually, I do, but you don't know what you're multiplying by. And so that one's a little harder. So even though you can figure this out, I'm going to go over it the way Edgenuity wants you to because I want to make sure that I have a nice, easy example for you to learn from. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with cross multiplying. So what that is it's looking at diagonals, right? So here's a diagonal. We have 5 and 6. And the cross multiply says we're going to multiply 5 times 6, okay? In case you don't know, this floating little dot means multiply. And I don't want to use an x for multiply, right? I don't want to use an x because we have an x right here in the problem. So it gets really confusing. So I like to use that little floating dot to mean multiply. And 5 times 6 is 30, okay? So I just did that part. And then on this side, we're going to do this over here, 3 times x. Now, we don't know what x is yet, so we're just going to leave it as 3 times x, all right? And in algebra, you can write multiplication of a coefficient and a variable, so a number, a coefficient, and a variable, a letter, If they're right next to each other, it means multiplication, okay? And then what you want to do here, so we've already done the cross multiply. We've done this cross multiply right here. And now we're going to do the divide part. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide by the coefficient, okay? You're going to divide by the coefficient, and you do it on both sides. And it's frustrating to me because if I was teaching this the way I would want to, I would have taught you algebra first, so this would make sense. This does not make sense to you, and that's okay. What you're going to do is you're going to divide, and these cancel out. Because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 times x is just x, okay? 1 times x is just x, right? 1 times anything is that thing. And then we have 30 divided by 3, and that is 10. And that's our answer, okay? So what you're going to do, your steps are you're going to multiply diagonals. Step 1, multiply diagonals. And then, so that's the cross multiply. And then you're going to divide by the coefficient next to the variable, okay? So that's the number next to the letter. I'm gonna write that down. The number next to the letter. And you divide on both sides, okay? So really important. I might even put actually divide on both sides. Divide by both sides on the coefficient next to the variable, okay? So let's do another example. If you need to write this down, if you need more time to write this down, you can pause this video and you can rewind if you need to, but I'm gonna move on, okay? So let's take another example. Let's take 2/3 equals, let's see, was x on bottom last time? It was on top, okay. So 2/3 equals, let's do 8 over x, okay? 2/3 equals 8 over x. Now you might say to yourself, hey, I see something, I noticed something. How do you get from here to here? Easy mode times 4, okay? You might notice something, and that's cool. But I want to do this the way they want us to because Edgenuity uses much trickier numbers, okay? So here we have 3 times 8, and 3 times 8 is 24. The equal signs just come straight down, okay? On this side, we have 2 and x, so 2 times x, right? Oops, sorry. That was weird. Okay, 2 times x. Sorry about my technology fail. I swear I'm not actually that old. Okay, so we have 2x, and then our second step, remember, is divide by the number next to the letter. Divide by the coefficient next to the variable. So we're going to divide by 2 on both sides, right? Divide by 2 on both sides, and you're left with 24 divided by 2 is 12 equals, these cross out, equals x, right? And that's how you do it, all right? That's how you do cross multiplication and division. Again, email me if you have any questions at kowens@jeffersonesd.org.